Welcome into another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, Barrie Police expanding its Family Liaison program to better support victims of crime. Local YMCAs are getting ready to move to give again this year. It is Marsh Mash weekend in Bradford. We'll find out what that's all about. And we look back at an exciting year for the Barrie Jr Sharks. We get the conversation started after this. Barrie Police have a new addition to their toolbox when helping victims and their families when a serious crime has been committed. Family liaison officers who help bridge the gap between the investigative work and the empathy victims require in such circumstances. Barrie 360's Ian MacLennan learns more from Detective Constable Melanie Beard and Detective Constable Deborah Howe.
So a new program for Barrie Police, training involved, family liaison officers. Can you explain a bit about the program?
Yes. So basically, I was in the police in England for 12 years, and they have a family liaison officer program, and they call them flows in England. And basically, if there's been a homicide or a road death or other serious incident, could be mass fatality or even some serious sex assaults, things like that. In England, they assigned specially trained family liaison officers whose sole responsibility will be dealing with the family. So that can be obtaining evidence from the family, taking statements if required. It'll be giving timely information in a sensitive manner and then assisting the family or victim through the investigation, and then if there is a court case, subsequent court proceedings and everything like that. So here in Canada, a victim liaison officer is assigned when there's a major case. However, typically, it's not that officer's sole responsibility in the investigation. So they could also be a lead investigator. They could also be investigating the crime and tied up with anything else. So this training is to give officers training, and then in Barrie Police, we're then going to assign specially trained officers who will deal with families at the worst times of their lives. So they won't be, dealing with anything else. They will just be assisting the family, through the process, whatever that may be. So
they have a regular name and face that they can reach out to?
Absolutely. It'll be a single point of contact for the family in the investigation. So families don't have to phone up and go through a switchboard to try and get hold of an officer or try and get information and speak to numerous different officers. They will just deal with two faces, a primary and a secondary, from literally a death notification, and then deal with them for any questions they have, because obviously there's always a lot of questions, no matter what the investigation is. The family liaison officers can provide different resources, whether it be charities, different services, basically assist the family throughout the process and be available for whenever the family needs.
And how many officers have been trained, and will there be more trained to be family liaison officers?
So we've run a course at the end of March this year. It was training for 20 officers. I myself took the training last year in Leicester. So there was 12 officers trained in Barrie, and then we had 4 officers from Toronto trained, 3 from York, and 1 from South Simcoe. Now we have a good pool of officers in Barrie, hopefully enough for us, but what we hope to see is that maybe Toronto Police Service, York, South Simcoe and other services will then continue with the programme, see the value of it, the benefit for members of the public, for victims of crime, for families of victims of crime, and then hopefully it'll progress.
You have gone through the training. I'm just wondering what your expectations were and what you took away from it.
It was great because we've never had really any training specifically to tell families how their loved one has been affected or died. So it really kind of streamlined it, gave us points that would give us certain languages and words to use so that it's not so much of a shock, but it's very definite, kind of the message that we're kind of portraying, and we're not misleading anyone. It gave us a chance to really feel like we can support the families as opposed to letting them down. When I've done notifications in the past, you really feel kind of like you're missing something. And I think this really rounds out the experience for officers as well, because it's not an easy task to go and tell someone that their loved one is injured or dead And this gave us some tools to make it a little easier.
How challenging is it? Because obviously there's the empathy, the compassion you have as a police officer, but also the boundaries too, because you obviously care about what happened to the victim, the family, but what are the boundaries that a police officer needs to know too?
So what this course teaches is that your primary role is as an investigator, but also to the family to offer support and whatever's needed. And I think what's been missing before is officers would do a death notification and then walk away, and that was it. And the family just waiting for information, or they have so many questions and they're waiting to hear from a lead investigator, or they're calling in to trying to get information, or they're at the police station waiting to give a statement. This is going to give a better quality of services to families at the worst time of their lives.
Is this something that is important in terms of building relationship too, just between police and the community?
Yes, absolutely. We need to provide the best service we can, and this is why we're now offering training in this area to, give the best service we can to families.
I think it also gives officers the opportunity to have a core group of people where they can bounce ideas off of each other and see what actually does work, and kind of support each other when we're going and making these calls to families and having these experiences. Because a lot of times there are experiences that affect officers as well. So us having the ability to talk about it within our peer group and discuss what works and what doesn't work to be more effective with each other, with members of the public, with the tragedies that we're facing each day, I think it's really beneficial for everyone involved, including the officers, not just the people that we're meeting on the streets.
For more on the Family Liaison program, log on to barriepolice.ca and search for Family Liaison. The local YMCA is gearing up for another Move to Give fundraiser, looking to raise $100,000 to support Y programs. More than 1,000 people expected to take part at 6 locations in Simcoe, Muskoka. Some interesting events in this, including a school bus pull. YMCA event coordinator Danielle Nielsen is with Barrie 360's Will Conkin.
What is the event all about?
Yeah, so our Move to Give event is designed to not only fundraise, but also to encourage community participation, to get people active, and to get our community members into the community and our community members into our centers as well. This is our 10th annual, so we're really excited about that. We wanted to do something big and exciting this year, so we've switched it up just a little bit.
Yeah, what do you got in store this year?
So this year we are doing a school bus pull across 6 different locations: Collingwood, Wasaga Beach, Midland, Innisfil, Gravenhurst, Huntsville, and then Parry Sound is also running a fundraising barbecue.
How did you come up with pulling a bus?
Previous locations have done fire truck pulls in the past that were really successful, and we wanted to kind of have a spin on that where we're able to hire school buses that can go across all the locations. We couldn't necessarily commit to having a fire truck at 6 different locations if there was some sort of 5-alarm fire that was needed, if we didn't want people to lose their main attraction. So it also piggybacked off of a fundraising initiative that we did last year that was called Fill the Bus, where we did a fundraising campaign to send kids to day camp. So this was kind of just a neat little throwback to that fundraising event, which was actually created by Northwestern Ontario, their YMCA. So we wanted to kind of throw back to that, and also is really marketable and exciting. So,
can anyone participate in pulling the bus?
Anyone who is physically able and over the age of 18 is able to pull the bus.
Oh, and then you were mentioning that for those who can't pull the bus, or maybe just want to be a cheerleader on the side, they're able to do that.
Yes. So if you physically are unable, or you just aren't interested in pulling a bus, there are also cheerleaders. They're just as important as our participants. We want people to be cheering on their teams, making it really feel exciting. So our cheerleaders are just as important, and you can also simply fundraise. So if you just want to fundraise for the cause, you can do that on our website as well.
How much are you looking to raise this year?
We're hoping to raise $100,000 this year.
Where do the funds go towards?
So the funds stay in the communities that they're raised in. So if you raise for Collingwood, it stays in Collingwood. It goes to things like a subsidy for membership for people who wouldn't be able to otherwise afford it, as well as things like swim lessons and those kinds of things. So directly to in-community programming for the residents of that community.
With something interesting like pulling a bus, I expect there'll be a kind of a big turnout.
We're hoping so. We really want people to be engaged. We want our community members to be there. Even if you're not a member of the YMCA, we want you to come, whether it's to participate or to cheer on. We're really excited about this event, and we want it to be really exciting.
We're now 4 years out of the pandemic, or when it happened. It seems like these events are more important than ever to get people active.
Absolutely. Getting active, feeling re-engaged with the community that you're in, feeling like you're a part of something. We also know that there are a lot of people who are going through financial struggles right now, who these types of services, swim lessons, membership, that kind of thing is really their lifeline in keeping them going. So we want to be able to continue to subsidize for the people that we do and to provide more subsidy for the people that necessarily don't right now. We also understand that fundraising is really difficult in this current socioeconomic climate that we're in. So we really wanted to make this inclusive. So we're also running a food drive as well. So if someone isn't able to give monetarily, they can give, a can of beans or a can of craft dinner or whatever it is that's needed in the community. And all of the food is donated to local food banks. We acknowledge that there's a lot of food insecurity right now. More people than ever are using food banks. So we wanted to make sure that we were giving back in as many ways as we could through the power of this event. And one of the ways that we thought was food. And we've called it Food to Give. So move to give, food to give.
What days are the events?
So almost all the events are running on June the 8th, with the exception of Midland, which is running on June the 9th.
What is the last day for people to register?
So people can register right up until the event. However, with your registration, you do get a free branded t-shirt. So if you want to get the t-shirt, you have to register before May the 1st.
How can people find more info about it?
You can find more info at movetogive.ca.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie and Simcoe County have to offer and more. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, the Barrie Jr Sharks women's hockey team still raving about the huge season they just had. And have you heard of the Marsh Mash? You will. Now this.
It's cool to care.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Cool to Care is brought to you by the Peggy Hill team, keeping it real all the way to sold. Reach out now at peggyhill.com.
It's cool to care with 107.5 Cool FM.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. There was no championship, but oh, did the Barrie Jr Sharks have themselves a season. We're joined by head coach Dwayne Eldridge. Welcome back to the program, sir.
Thanks, Dan.
Most successful season to date, you're telling me?
Yeah, absolutely. Our team really worked hard to improve all season, and they got rewarded. At the end of the year, we went into two championship tournaments back-to-back. Finished fourth in the league championships and followed that up with our first ever medal at the provincial championships as a bronze. So from start to finish, it was an amazing season for the girls, and they earned all of the recognition that they've gotten for this.
And you went through a lot of teams to get there. This isn't a small league.
No, absolutely not. We have 25 teams. The last 2 weekends, we had to play all of the top ranked teams in Canada. And we beat all of them, with the exception of the number one team, Etobicoke, and we took them to overtime. So I think we demonstrated that we are one of the top programs in the province now, and we're looking to build on that.
They must have been just jazzed in the dressing room, even not getting the championship, but with a bronze and the kind of season you had.
Yeah, they describe themselves as a family. And I think from a coaching staff perspective, our job was to create an environment and then let them just run with it. And they did. And I just think they never wanted the season to end. If we could have gotten 4 more games out of it, they would have. But it was amazing to watch the camaraderie that they had, the support they had for each other. And it was a special group, and it's one that we'll never forget.
Were you surprised at all by the success? Because you had a pretty big turnover at the end of last season.
Surprised, I don't know if that's the right word. I think that we knew we had a group of girls in that room that were really competitive. I think they really, really were committed to the team. And they were committed to being a group that was going to have fun and work together. And I think those 3 things allowed them to just play to the best of their ability, and they certainly got the most out of themselves that they could.
And you noticed this right away, because I remember our first conversation at the start of the season, you remarked about the cohesiveness of everybody.
Yeah, the enthusiasm, the way, they had a lot of fun. I mean, they certainly had a lot of fun and enjoyed it, but they worked hard, and I think that's the reason that they had so much success.
How big an impact has the PWHL had on the program you have?
It's huge. Just recently, we finished our competitive tryouts with the organization, and at the younger age groups, they had the most amount of kids trying out. And I have no doubt that the exposure that the PWHL's created, I mean, you talk to people, everybody's watching it. People who I know never watched women's hockey before, even Olympics or World Championships, are watching it. And the brand is fantastic. The quality of play is great. You're watching the best players in the world. It's super competitive. We were just recently got back from New York, went and watched Jess play 2 games down there, and the atmosphere is electric, especially with the games they had in New Jersey, and it just keeps growing and growing, and that has an impact all the way through.
You mentioned Jess, your daughter, who played for the New York team. They didn't make the playoffs, but I think she probably had a pretty good season.
Yeah, she had a good season. Another group that, despite the fact that they didn't make the playoffs, again, a really cohesive unit. They finally have a league of their own. They're getting paid as professionals. They're being treated as professionals. And I think for the young girls in our organization coming up through, the fact that they actually have something to shoot for is fantastic.
It's great to have something new to aspire to. It's not just the Olympics anymore. It's not just the national team. Now there's a whole new level.
Correct.
How's the team looking for next year? Do you have another series of turnovers?
Yeah, we 10 again. It seems to be our magic number. Hopefully we can follow up this past season's success again. Yeah, we have already, our team's been selected. We had a 3-day training camp and then a couple of exhibition games, which they picked up 2 victories, which, not that winning's everything, but it certainly puts everybody on a positive note to begin with. We're excited about the group we've got coming in. Both of our goaltenders are returning, which, Amelia Wilkinson represented the organization at the U18 National Championships in Team Ontario this year. We have 7 players that graduated from this past team that are going to carry on and play university or college hockey in the U.S. and Canada. We have 4 that are eligible for, scholarship offers from the D1 schools beginning June 15th that we're excited about. So there's a lot of excitement around our group moving forward.
And are you getting more support from the community? Are you seeing more fannies in the stands?
Yeah, well, fannies in the stands for sure. I mean, we had probably one of our biggest crowds, if not the biggest crowd this year, was for our exhibition game in April, which, shows an awful lot of interest in the program. We were fortunate enough to have some community sponsorship and partnerships this year. Shannon Murray, who her group has done an awful lot to help promote our game and support us. The city of Barrie alone, the partnership of Paul McCarron and his staff and the way that they treat us and look after us, we really appreciate that. Exciting opportunities coming up. We've partnered with Georgian Communities and Braystone Club. We're going to have a fundraiser, Swing for the Sharks, Friday, August 23rd, up at Braystone. We're looking at some local celebrities to participate in that. The growth and development our programs had this year, we learned an awful lot, and we really think that we can still expand that program to provide better support for our athletes and the organization in a whole. But to do some of those things, we really need to increase our partnerships with the local community, and we think that, the Sharks are a hometown team. I grew up playing minor hockey in Bradford, and one of the things I miss about that environment was all the local teams supported one another. So we played, home games were Saturday night. You played back to back to back. And if we were playing Unionville or Bolton or Keswick, all 4 teams played back to back to back. And I think that's one of the things that we would like to get back to here. You've lost a little bit this sense of community, and through ice scheduling and game scheduling next year, we're trying to bring that back together. And I think if we can do that, we can create partnerships with local businesses to help provide opportunities for these young ladies moving forward. I think everybody would benefit.
What's the best way for anyone listening, businesses who want to jump on board with you to get in touch?
BarrieJrSharks.ca through our website. Our management team, our manager Rob Hardy and the other members have done a fantastic job at building the program for all the support we need. And I think if we can bring some community partnerships in, whether it's product sponsorship, whether it's exposure opportunities. Cheryl Gilroy did a great job live streaming games for us this year, and we got a lot of comments about, people who watched it and things that they saw that they didn't realize were available. And I think that's the type of thing, the support we get from you is greatly appreciated. Our results are reported after game days, and I've got guys at work, hey, heard the team had another good weekend. And it's just like, it's great to have that, and we want to build on that for sure. Partnerships with development in-house in Barrie. You've got Virgin Motion. Juliana and her group do a great job with our off-ice training. Paul Matheson, who's, world-class skating coach, works with our girls on a weekly basis. Greg Eskedin, two-way hockey. Jeremy Redquist with our goalies. Like, the fact that we've got all community support and service providers is really important to us, and we want to expand and grow on that.
And it's not something that people have to be involved in on ice in an on-ice capacity. You mentioned training systems and that. People can join in and offer support in many other ways.
Absolutely. And I think the more that we can increase those partnerships, it will allow us to grow the program. It'll benefit all of the Barrie Sharks organization, not just the Barrie Jr Sharks. And again, we're, long-term, as a parent, we had a lot of people that helped us out that allowed Jess to get to where she is and have her experience. And if we can create those opportunities for our local girls in our local community, then that would be great.
Yeah, I bet you're always on the lookout for some volunteers to help with the organization.
Yeah, we're always looking out for volunteers. That's for sure. Because as we want to take on more, it's you need more people to do that. And we've been fortunate in the volunteers that we've had so far. And anything we can do to grow that group will just allow us to do more for our program.
All right, give us the website again for anybody who wants to jump on board or reach out.
Sure, it's the BarrieJrSharks.ca.
Congratulations on a great season. All the best to you in the coming season. We look forward to working with you some more.
Thanks, Dan. We appreciate it.
Quite the event taking place this Sunday in Bradford, in the Holland Marsh, actually. The annual Marsh Mash Canoe and Kayak Race. A few paddleboarders and outriggers, too. Our Ian MacLennan dips an oar in the water with race organizer Ian Craig.
What is Marsh Mash? It's been around since 1979?
79. In 1979, some friends of mine approached me about helping them organize a race in the canal that runs around the marsh, the Holland Marsh. So I agreed to do that, and we got people, we raced. It was in July. It was very hot, and it was so hot, and then at that time of year, the weeds and the algae and the duckweed are up. In fact, there were stretches where you were paddling, you actually had to mash your way through the weeds. So it became known as the Marsh Mash, and it's always been that. We haven't changed that name. This is the 44th year we're going to run the race.
And you've moved it to May simply because there's less weeds around too?
We tried June, first of all, but the weeds still be there. So we moved back to May. So we're pretty well traditionally now Mother's Day weekend in May. The weeds are not quite up. Water is a little cooler, obviously, but it's a great water course.
So who's involved in the MASH? What we got canoeists, kayakers, and beyond that?
We have everybody from canoes, kayaks, stand-up paddleboards, outriggers. We have about 15 different classes for this coming race on May the 11th. So we've got people who are very competitive and people who are just recreational paddlers.
So some will go out and they mean business, and others it's more of a...
some of them have been training for all winter, some of them. Some of them are going to try to get onto a Canadian team. It's a world qualifier as well. So if people want to go to Croatia this coming fall and paddle at the World Marathon, they have to qualify at one of 4 places. And believe it or not, the Marsh is one of them.
Really? So it's got that notoriety.
It's got that notoriety, yeah. The other places are very highly well known, and people often say, how on earth did you get the Marsh Mash to be a qualifier? Well, you just happen to know enough people at Canoe Kayak Canada, and it's an excellent course. So world qualifying potential people come and paddle.
So you got people who are aiming high and others that just want to maybe challenge themselves?
That's right. We've had some ex-Olympic paddlers come. Adam Van Couverden, Canada's kayaker from a few years ago, came one time, which was just an absolute thrill to have somebody of that caliber there. We've got a lot of very good junior paddlers coming from sprint clubs. And we've got some of the best marathon paddlers in the province who come to race. And yeah, they are very, very serious.
So we've got 5.7K, 9, 18, and 28. Just curious, how many laps? It's 28.
The 28 is the entire canal, start and finish at the same spot. It's 28K all the way around. Now, not everybody wants to do 28K, so that's what we used to do. We've now created smaller, shorter races. There's a 19K, which, again, is a loop. You go out and come back. The 9 kilometers for recreational canoeists, kayakers, stand-up paddleboard. And the 5.7 is basically parent-child or brand-new younger kids in any sort of boat. So you can take your pick. You can be competitive. You can just come out and race for the fun of it. And that's what we're trying to do, is attract a lot of people to come out and just get out and paddle.
And is there a specific time that the so-called launch takes place? And how many participants do you get or do you anticipate?
We usually get over 100. Last year we had 140 paddlers. I'm expecting this year we could see 150, which is a good turnout.
All over the province too?
Oh yeah, you have to register ahead of time, and once you've registered, and you'll see it on our website. The website is just simply Marsh Mash, 2 words, Marsh Mash, and it will show the different classes and when they all start. But basically, you register ahead of time, and you should be at the race site by 9. Because we do a race briefing. I have to tell people about where they're going to turn, what to do if they fall in, how this whole thing is working, because some people really are not sure. They also have to bring a PFD, and they bring their own paddles.
Well, I think it says in your website, sorry, thinking water waves, but the safety is paramount, and you emphasize that.
Oh, without a doubt. Can you imagine it? We've never had an accident or an incident.
How deep's the water?
The water, because the canal got redug, it's now almost 3 meters deep all the way around. No rocks at all, no rock.
In terms of the public, can they come out, obviously, and watch and
without a doubt.
Enjoy?
Without a doubt, yeah.
And I'm just curious, 28 kilometers, I know there's a skill set for everybody, but how long would that take to cover that?
The people who are training in a 2-man canoe will likely be about 2 hours and a half, 2:35. Some of the new kayakers who are coming in Olympic-style kayaks will probably be under 2.5.
Have you canoed it or kayaked yourself on that route? What?
I'm married to the course. I've been paddling it every year since 1979.
You love it, obviously.
Yeah. So this time I'm paddling with my grandson, which he'll pull me around the course.
For more information and to register, go to townofbwg.com and enter Marsh Mash in the search bar. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian and Will for their input, to Matt Ladder for his technical tweaking, and to you for listening. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. Rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on X at Barrie360, on our website, Barrie360.com, and there's our daily Kickstart podcast available from any streaming service and on our website. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.